Hey! I'm Al Cavadlo, and you're watching Ask Al. I recently received a question from a viewer named Tony who wanted to know what's the best way to eat in order to get ripped. Hey, Tony. Thanks for the message. Like anyone else, my weight does tend to fluctuate a little bit. But if I've got a photo shoot or some other event coming up that I want to get as ripped as possible for, or if I just feel like I've been letting myself slip, there are certain things that I zero in on that help me get as cut as possible. Six-pack secrets, if you will. Although I suppose they're not really secrets, because I'm about to tell you about them right now. One small caveat before I get started. There are many effective strategies for burning fat, and my way isn't the only way. But there is one thing that all of the effective weight loss strategies have in common. Calorie restriction. The bottom line is you can't drop fat unless you're expending more calories than you're consuming. Which means in order to get shredded, you're going to have a lot of discipline. Getting cut is a great example of something that's simple in theory, but very difficult in practice. So what works for me? Personally, I'm a fan of what's known as intermittent fasting. This means I don't eat any breakfast other than a cup of coffee or green tea, which are both great appetite suppressants, by the way. And it means I have a very light lunch, which allows me a little leeway to enjoy a big dinner and still remain in the caloric deficit for the day. In addition to restricting when I eat, I also have to restrict what I eat. There are just certain things it's best to avoid in your quest for abs. The first thing I recommend giving up is all liquid calories. Sodas, iced teas, other sugary beverages, and yes, even alcohol. If you can't cut it out completely, you've at least got to cut back substantially if you want to see your dear abbies. Other things that are non-negotiable include junk foods, pastries, candies, breakfast cereals, even low-fat and low-sugar ones. And yes, you heard me right. Breakfast cereals are pretty much all junk food. Look at the ingredients. So now that you've got a little primer on what not to eat, what should you eat? Well, you want to aim for foods that'll fill you up without having a lot of calories. Start with vegetables, fruits, nuts, nut butters, seeds. And while it's true that nuts and nut butters are fairly dense in calories, I find them to be very satisfying and filling, so I'm less likely to overeat them. A couple of spoonfuls of PB satisfies my hunger way more than a couple of spoonfuls of ice cream, even if they're the same amount of calories. I also recommend beef, chicken, and fish, as they're tasty and full of nutrients and proteins. If you choose not to eat meat, there are many other good protein sources like eggs, beans, lentils, and chia seeds. I don't track my calories, carbs, fats, or proteins, and because of this system, I don't have to. One more thing. Don't be afraid to be hungry for extended periods of time. You're not going to go into starvation mode, your blood sugar isn't going to crash, and you aren't going to ruin all of your gains. Well, that's all the time I got for this episode of Ask Al. As always, thanks for watching, and leave me any questions or comments down below. Till then, I'm Al Cavadlo, and we're working out.